Oh, you guys can see that we need to pick up. Let me flip this camera. Oh, say hi. Okay, so I'm starting a little bit early today, just because this little sleeping one is about to wake up any second, and I am breastfeeding, and it's going to, I have no problem breastfeeding on Instagram, but it's going to be awkward to hold the phone and him at the same time. So we're going to get going a little early just because I think he's going to wake up soon. And I wanted to get on and talk about autophagy real quick and then answer a few of your questions. So before I begin, just the standard medical disclaimer, which is kind of all over the site everywhere, but I'm not your personal physician, so this information should not be construed as medical advice. So, all right, let's get to it. Autophagy. So it's if you have even looked into intermittent fasting or plant-based or keto or low carb or even exercising or anything even dealing with weight loss, you have probably heard people mention autophagy. But what exactly is it and how do we upregulate it? So I think there are a lot of misconceptions about autophagy, especially the most common thing I hear is that, it's either all or none. You either are in autophagy or autophagy is either going on or it's completely shut off. And so let's talk about that and just how to increase it. And we'll just start off with what it is. So autophagy is basically, a process of self-renewal or allows the body to self-repair itself. So it does this by having a series of complex processes that allow for cell removal, even cell death of damaged proteins, damaged cells to prevent an over-accumulation. So that's basically what it is. So let's use the garage scenario because that's my favorite scenario. And, take a garage, for example. So you can have a very nice and neat garage where periodically you clean it out, and you do this on a regular basis so that you can keep things organized, so that you can park your car in your garage, all of those lovely things. Or you can have a garage that has stuff everywhere. Rarely are things removed, maybe every once in a while, but it just looks like it would take too long to remove everything. So more often than not, things continue to stack and stack and stack. And pretty soon your garage is just kind of like a wasteland and it's not really useful. You can get by, but it doesn't function optimally, and eventually it doesn't function at all. And that's what the body's like. So autophagy is going on at a baseline level all the time. Think of the junkie garage. So yeah, occasionally you may remove a box here or there, and that's kind of just the baseline level. But you never really take the opportunity to let your garage clean out and actually keep it organized. And that represents disease. So we think that a lot of modern diseases are actually linked to the failure of upregulating autophagy on a regular basis, besides just the baseline level that just keeps you kind of going and allows you to survive. So if we're not upregulating autophagy often enough, that can lead to the accumulation of damaged proteins, damaged cells, which then can lead to a variety of diseases, such as we think dysregulation autophagy plays a role in the development of Alzheimer's, Parkinson's disease, fatty liver, metabolic syndrome, cancer. Pretty much if it's a modern disease, you can find a dysfunction in autophagy. And so the question becomes not as to how can we turn on autophagy on or off, because again, cells studies in yeast have shown that if no autophagy is going on at all, the organism dies. So if you're alive, there's some autophagy going on, but it may not be at the level to prevent disease. And so what we want to do is either prevent and or even reverse disease. And that's why intermittent fasting can play a role in that. So intermittent fasting has the ability to increase autophagy beyond just your baseline levels. This is why, intermittent fasting has a role in health pretty much for everyone, because whether or not you're obese or have medical conditions, just having a good preventative strategy to prevent you from developing disease, autophagy and intermittent fasting, or autophagy can play a role in that, and intermittent fasting plays a role in the upregulation of autophagy. If you do have weight loss that you need to occur, and oftentimes several medical conditions can go along with being overweight or obese, then intermittent fasting allows you to activate that self-cleaning process, which you may be behind on. So that's why there's such interest in intermittent fasting beyond weight loss. Now, I mentioned that there are other ways to increase autophagy just besides fasting, and that can be with physical activity. Physical activity can upregulate autophagy, and that's why you may see that hashtag movement is medicine. But while exercise may not be necessarily the end all be all for weight loss, especially you'll hear that quote, abs are made in the kitchen. So nutrition obviously is going to go a long way. There are other reasons to exercise aside from the hope of toning or weight loss. There are beneficial changes at that cellular level. And then your diet. So this is where people kind of go back and forth with the dietary debate. Plant-based diets have been shown to uprate autophagy just as well as low-carbon ketogenic diets have shown to upregulate autophagy. And so, you really can find a nutrition lifestyle that works best for you. And it's not that, my way is the only way. So ketosis has been shown to upregulate autophagy, along with having a low protein containing diet, a more plant-based diet. So people are saying, will kind of scratch their head and say, why can both do it or upregulate autophagy? And my theory on that is because the body is way smarter than we are. And if you could only survive off of one lifestyle, then the human race probably would not thrive. The lifestyle where we know we're not thriving on is the high sugar, highly processed diet. We call it in America the standard American diet or the SAD diet. And we know we're not thriving on that. So if you want to go low carb, go low carb. I personally am more of a lower carb lifestyle. I do incorporate lots of plants into my low carb lifestyle. But for the sugary processed stuff, I try to avoid that. And by avoiding that, then by virtue, I've cut out a lot of carbohydrates. And that works for me. But that might not be the lifestyle that works for you. But incorporating intermittent fasting into any lifestyle has beneficial effects. So that's kind of my brief summary on just autophagy. Again, a full lecture on that is beyond the scope of a IG video. But I will post in my stories later on. And if you go to my blog, thefastingdoctor.com, I've also linked some articles there under the blog post, Intermittent Fasting, Where is the Evidence? For some papers that detail autophagy in greater detail if you're interested in getting down into the science. So before baby wakes up and before my middle child wakes up who is napping, let me answer some of the questions, and then we'll tune in hopefully next week for another chat. Still trying to adjust to life with baby 3. So just bear with us. All right. So let's see. This question says, can I find a meal plan with fasting 16-8? So for those new to fasting, 16 hours fasting, 8-hour eating windows that will help me lose weight. And that's from E.Nagy19. Yeah, my answer to that is sure. I mean, I think that is very doable. I'm not really sure what your dietary restrictions are. If you have a way of eating, or if you've seen one that looks more attractive to you than others. Usually what I tell people is just, start with reducing your processed carbohydrate intake, because that's what gets most people. Don't be fooled just because a donut says, you know, gluten-free on it, that it's any healthier than a regular donut. It's not. So, try to get rid of the processed stuff and then gradually introduce intermittent fasting into your lifestyle. All right. So let me scroll back through. I'm going to go to the top and then answer a few questions before I get off. Let's see. Sorry, I'm just scrolling through. So Keto Zell asks, normally how many hours do you fast? So when I'm not nursing, because I'm lactating right now, so I don't really fast while either pregnant or lactating. But when I'm not in either of those states, I usually fast about 18 hours a day is my usual. All right. Continuing to scroll. So Alamc. So, okay, I'm going to spell it. It's AHLAMC. Not sure how to pronounce some of the handles. Their question was, hi, would fasting help cure cancerous cells? So, granted, we don't have any randomized clinical control trials or anything like that. But there are several proof of concept papers and instances where you'll see places are starting to incorporate intermittent fasting into cancer therapy. There's a paper that showed that intermittent fasting prior to chemotherapy actually increased the normal cell's resilience to withstand effects from chemotherapy. And so there's a lot of work being done in this arena. Things we don't know about intermittent fasting with actually treating cancer is, well, how long would you have to fast to treat cancer? So I think prevention is always going to be better than treating. And so hopefully with just living a regular healthy lifestyle, you can decrease your risk of cancer. And that's not to say that just because someone has cancer that they lived an unhealthy lifestyle. There are plenty of healthy, active people who unfortunately do get cancer. But we also know that increasing rates of cancer associated with obesity are occurring. And so that goes to the lifestyle component. With that, so hopefully that answers your question. A comment from L. Martini, 1982. Oh, thank you. That's so sweet of you. So thankful for you and your awesome content. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. I will keep it coming. Fasting Ashley, like the garage example for autophagy. Yeah, that's one I think about. So I'm kind of, going to brag on myself a little bit. I coined that one myself. But I wanted to think of an easy way to explain it. And I looked outside and my garage needs a bit of autophagy. So I think that's how I came up with that. Okay. Mariana sings. She said, I've read that apple cider vinegar can assist in weight loss with intermittent fasting. Do you recommend it? And when should you take it, if yes? I've seen a lot of buzz about the apple cider vinegar also. When I first started intermittent fasting, I did try it. But I didn't really notice much of a difference. So, I don't necessarily have people that I work with use apple cider vinegar purely for that. I think you can get good enough results without it. There might be other health reasons to drink apple cider vinegar, though, aside from weight loss. I try to remind people there's not like one magic elixir, right? So if you do drink apple cider vinegar, yes, maybe that does aid in your weight loss, but not drinking it is not going to be the reason that you don't lose weight, if that makes sense. Vinegar in general has, or is thought to have different health benefits. We kind of get our vinegar content in kombucha, but not during our fasting window, because kombucha would certainly break a fast. And we don't usually do store-bought kombucha because it has too many additives and sugars. We do our own home brew. We can get that vinegar content pretty up in a nice palatable manner. So it's kind of a ramble way to answer your question. Not really sure if I actually answered it or not. So, but I'm not an apple cider vinegar expert, so I'll just throw that out there. Arumeye, okay, I think that's how you say it. Are you an MD doctor? So I'm assuming medical doctor, or what's the doctor in your name represent? Yes, I am a medical doctor. And let's see. Scrolling through more, some more people have joined. The Natanzi, how do you feel about longer fasts, like 3 to 4 days? I actually don't have any problem with longer fasts. I think it just depends on how often are you doing them. So, there are a few proponents of a couple times a year known as seasonal based fastings. So like at the end of every season to do like a 72-hour fast, again, as a way of kind of cleansing the body, upgrading autophagy. If you've trying to get a jump on decreasing some of those damaged proteins hanging around. And if you don't have any medical conditions or if you're being monitored by your physician, I don't really have a problem with that. I think people can get into trouble, though, if you're doing longer fasts too often, because that is an added stressor on the body. And we don't know, how healthy that is. Certainly our ancestors weren't looking at their calendar and saying, okay, it's time for me to do another 5-day fast. Let me do it every week. That's not, we don't know that that's safe. So I don't have a problem with longer fast. I just think they should only be done periodically. And what is probably the safest route to go is just regular intermittent fasting and just making that part of your life. So, and certainly like to stress that longer fasts are not needed to upregulate autophagy if you're eating a healthy diet, because again, we know autophagy regulation can begin as little as 16 hours. And some people think maybe even 12, but 16 hours for sure. So you don't have to do long fasts, especially if you have various medical conditions. That should really be undertaken if you're going to do it under the guise of a medical professional, in my opinion. So Toko in the Sky says, why do I not feel hungry when it's time to eat after the fast is over? After 2 bites, I'm full. Probably because you could fast longer. So, I don't know. For me, the first rule of fasting is if you're not hungry, don't eat. And so just because your fast is up, if you're not hungry, you can extend that fast and then eat when you're truly hungry. The other thing is fasting can help realign satiety signals. So you're probably just getting in tune to your true hunger signals and helping to eliminate some of those other hunger cues that you were getting before that really weren't true hunger. So that's my theory on that. Love hearing your baby coo. Yes, he's a cooer. I like hearing him coo too. And then Fasting Ashley says, fasting lifestyle for now, 19 weeks. Awesome. Ooh, look at this, 20 pounds down. And I'm noticing now I'm not getting into ketosis and plateauing. Oh, okay. Well, so I do 18-23 daily, 1 day off, 3 day once a month. Should I change anything? So if you're plateauing, 1, you may want to look at your diet. That's always something to just kind of look at. 2, what are your fasting fluids? So are you consuming, just plain black tea, plain tea and water? Are you doing bulletproof coffee during your fasting window or other additives that can slow your effect? And then you may just have to switch it up. So if your body's gotten used to the 18-23, you may want to do a couple, 1 meal a day. Some people throw in alternate day fasting. But the other thing you may want to check are your measurements, because you may actually be in the process of redistributing your body composition. And so when that happens, that can cause the appearance of a plateau on the scale, but your clothes are getting looser, your measurements are getting smaller. And so then I say just keep pushing through. So those potentially could be some suggestions. So, hey guys, thanks for tuning in. I'm going to hop off because I got to go check on my kiddo upstairs who I hear coughing. And then my little baby sitting on my lap just pooped. So if anyone wants to come change him, nah, just playing. I'll go do that. So anyhow, you guys have a great day. This will be up for 24 hours in my stories. And actually, I'll probably have the hubby upload this to my website, thefastingdoctor.com, just so that you can see an overview of autophagy later. And who knows, maybe I'll put this on my IGTV as well. All right, you guys have a great one. Take care.